So, Josh, give me your like mental map of the startup ecosystem and Omaha specifically, and then Nebraska more widely. It's not an area that is, in my view, particularly well known for a startup ecosystem, and so it's exciting to me to see your community thriving so much over the last several years. Give me your view on like who are the major players in the early stage ecosystem. You mentioned Invest Nebraska, so I'd love to hear more about them, and then any others that you think are of note.
Nebraska's not that big, so the 2 to 3 degrees of separation is great for raising additional or initial capital, or even just getting started with the business. So it's not too difficult to reach out to 1 or 2 people and say, hey, can I get an introduction to this person? I'm curious to pitch them on the product. That it does happen, and that's great that we could offer that based on how many people are in the state. We do have a really strong prototype grant program. So it's run by our Department of Economic Development to help a company start to build out a prototype or an MVP, along with matching capital from other investors or the founder themselves. We have a pre-seed fund called Move. We have a accelerator called NMotion. That's a part of Generator, the broader network of accelerators. And then moving down the line, we'll live right around pre-seed seed. So we like to see traction revenue. And that's when the first round of someone leading the deal comes in. And that typically is Invest Nebraska, which is great. There has been a new, they've been around for a couple of years, but an ag tech fund named Grit Road, where they're specifically investing in ag tech. That's been really great because we're in Nebraska. There's a lot of corn and cows, but then a lot of resources. One that Invest Nebraska runs is the combine. So helping out in that early stages of finding customers, finding capital, really being an incubator for those companies is super great. But Grit Road will also lead rounds of funding, so we'll participate with them alongside Invest Nebraska as well. And then a couple family offices. Here's 2 PSA Ventures. I'm actually sitting in their building right now, and they're a great family office that invests into local companies and pre-seed seed as well. Also a fund of funds too. The other one is Nelnet, and they are probably have deployed the most capital in the state to startups. They're Nelnet Inc. is a publicly traded company based out of Lincoln, but they have a super strong venture arm. So they have holdings in like Company Cam and Huddle, the sports tech company, and a number of other related startups and now solidified businesses based here in Nebraska, but then all across the country as well. So they were one of our founding members of the group. So they've been super great to work with over the years, and still deploying a lot of capital into the businesses that we'll invest in, but then also through their CVC. And then I would say right around the Series A stage is kind of where it drops off of potential funding sources. There are options for our groups to follow on during those stages and raise $1 to $2 to $3 million in total together. But usually that true institutional Series A, we're looking outside the state for those venture funds to lead or to fill the rounds. So that's the landscape. I'm trying to think of who else we're missing. We have had a private equity group lead a couple of the Series A rounds here in the state, which has been great. And so, but other than that, we've kind of had to look outside the state for Series A and Series B in the home.
A quick note before we continue the conversation. Alongside the Diligent Observer podcast and newsletter, I also run an outsourced operations service specifically built to serve angel networks. My team handles things like initial screening, social media, newsletter prep, platform management, and a whole lot more. The kinds of things that either aren't getting done or shouldn't be done by busy community leaders. If that sounds interesting to you, send me a note. Now, back to it. And do you typically see those founders exit, or is it like exit the state, or is it just raising capital externally and then continuing to build locally? Like, I'm curious how strong the regional kind of housing is, so to speak, for these companies as they grow. Because so often, it's a case in tier 2, tier 3 markets where a company gets to a certain stage, exits the region and moves to the Valley or to New York or whatever. Do you see that pretty commonly in your ecosystem, or do folks like to stick around?
I'd say I like to stick around. I mean, Nebraska's relatively cheap to live compared to anywhere else in the country, like San Francisco or New York. And there is some good tech talent here. Huddle, I don't know how many employees they are, but Huddle's sports tech company, they're global now, have offices all over the country, but their headquarters is still here in Lincoln, Nebraska. So that's great to see. The other larger company that our members were able to fund was Company Cam, or is Company Cam. Still headquartered in Lincoln, Nebraska. They do have employees all across the country as well, but their founders and executive team is all here in the States.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Diligent Observer. I'm your host, Andrew, and if you're an angel investor looking for essential angel intel in 5 minutes every week, I think you'd enjoy my newsletter. I send my best stuff, interesting deals, and more straight to your inbox so you never miss a thing. Subscribe today at thediligentobserver.com.